It's one of my regrets. Obviously, I handballed the ball, but I didn't mean to handball the ball. I look back now, I think I'd have just let the ball go in the net if I could have. But unfortunately, it kind of just cost us the game, really. And it is a regret. Not that I had any control of it. I don't think it's just one of these things that happens with football. And yeah, it was. I was gutted for it, to be honest.
Hey guys, it's producer Ross here, and welcome back to another edition of Ross Meets, the series where I catch up with former Town players to talk about their careers from the ups to the downs and everything in between. Once again, I want to say thank you to everybody who has listened to the previous episodes. It's been a pleasure to speak to these players, and hopefully they brought you some memories, some good stories to listen to during your day. And here we go, the 9th episode of Ross Meets. We're already getting into 9 episodes, which is mad. But hopefully we'll be getting more and more coming your way soon. But here we go, the 9th edition, which is with former Town defender Christophe Berra. And what a pleasure it was speaking to Christophe about his time at Portman Road and his career as a whole. We spoke about a range of things from his early days at Hearts, then coming into England and playing for Wolves under Mick McCarthy for the first time, where he went on to help them win promotion to the Premier League and went on to play in the top flight for 3 seasons. Then, of course, reunited with Mick at Portman Road, playing for Ipswich Town, and went on to become Player of the Year in his first season. Then spoke about the second season where we got into the playoffs, and he also spoke very much in depth about the handball incident against Norwich, which ended in getting sent off, and spoke about that in depth, about one of his biggest regrets of his career in that game. And then he spoke about other big moments and highlights during his time at Portman Road, and also then spoke about his return to Hearts, his boyhood club, where he's now currently still at, and also his ambitions in coaching. And it was just great to chat to Christophe about his time, career as a whole. As I hope you guys enjoy this. I really enjoyed speaking to Christophe. Let's get right into this interview, because I'm rambling as I normally do. So let's get right into this interview and hope you enjoy it, guys. Where did it all start for you in terms of, did you always want to play football when you were a kid and stuff like
that? I was a late developer. I kind of first got signed up and spotted it. I played for a local team around the corner from my mum and dad, 5 minutes from there, called the Dyna Hibs. Maybe joined them under 12s from like primary school, secondary school football. And then I was really late in getting picked up. To be honest, I kind of always just said to my dad, I don't think it's going to happen. And it was literally last year you could have got picked up to go not full time as in ground staff, as we used to call it up here. Yeah. Youth Pro. I had like 1 year before that, so I joined Hearts at under, might have been 16s for 1 season. And there'd been boys who had been in that team for 3-4 years with Hearts, and I think I'm pretty positive I was the only one that got kept on to get a full-time contract with the youth team. So I signed a 2-year Youth Pro, or we used to call it YTS up in Scotland, ground staff. So I had 2 years. I was fortunate enough to get that.
Were you always a defender as a youngster, or were you one of those people who liked to play up front at first, score the goals, or did you always feel that was one of your roles you liked?
I think in primary school I used to kind of play a few positions. I played left back before, centre half. I think I had to go and goalkeeper once for at primary school level. And I might have had a couple of times up front, but yeah, over the piece, it was I was a defender.
In terms of his Hearts, I should know this really. His Hearts, your boyhood club, of course you're born and raised in Edinburgh and stuff.
Yeah, it had been the club I joined with at that age, and I ended up going back there after Ipswich. Yeah, so yeah, they've always been close to me.
In terms of breaking through and making your debut during the 2003-04 season, there's one big game in there against Celtic at Celtic Park. That must have been a great experience for you, going there and playing against. I think you came on very late in that game, but still experience.
Yeah, I actually remember. I think I made my debut for Hearts. It was my full debut was away to Kilmarnock. Mm-hmm. I think we drew 1-1 there. Yeah. Our captain, Stephen Presley, I think he took ill the night before, so I didn't know until the morning. So that was my full debut. But yeah, I remember the Celtic game. I think it was 2-2, or we were winning 2-1, I think. Mm-hmm. I'm sure the game finished 2-2, and it was literally, I don't know, maybe a couple of minutes ago. And as I was going on, they had a free kick, maybe 70 yards out, and they were going to put it in the box. And as I was running into the box to get into position, they put the ball in. not that it was my fault or that, but
Yeah.
I couldn't get set or like get organised with the defence or the team, and they actually scored off it to go 2-2. So a part of me was fuming with the referee, because usually the referees let you get on, get set, and get everyone organised first. But as I was running into the box, he blew the whistle, and I was still running in as the goal went in. So yeah, it was. But yeah, a great experience. Celtic Park, 60,000 fans. I think. At that time, it'd be Chris Sutton maybe and Henrik Larsson playing up front. Yeah. So yeah, they were some set of strikers. Yeah.
Your first manager, I think, was Craig Levine. What was he like as a manager?
Yeah, he was very. As a youngster, he was very dominant and very like a man that you didn't mess with. He was very organised. And a manager that you respected. That's what you expect at that age. You're coming through from the youth team. You don't. You're going into the first team setting, and you're a wee bit wary and you're a wee bit within your shell. But I managed to come out of that after a couple of years, as you play more games and train with them. But it was always a daunting experience. I think back then, Hearts' first team in general, actually Scottish football, the first team was probably more experienced players and more men, whereas this day and age, don't get me wrong, you'll get teams where there's a lot of Scottish teams have got a lot of youngsters as well, and probably the average age is a lot younger than it used to be back in the day, because teams up here rely on bringing a lot of youth players through. And yeah, it was when you stepped into training, that you had to be on it, or the senior pros would be giving you a hard time.
Yeah. Then, of course, your next manager was George Burley. Of course, he's very known in these parts, but for you, must have been great, him as manager. He left Ipswich at that point and went back to Scotland and managed Hearts. What was he like?
George came in and obviously done a fantastic job. I think he won. We were top of the league, won 11 games in a row, or unbeaten in 11, and then obviously left with controversial circumstances due to the Lithuanian managers. He was a different manager. He really liked his experienced pros and his internationals. To be honest, he was a bit more harsher on the younger boys, myself included. He was one of the best out of us, so he did drive us. I don't think I really played under him, to be honest, and I didn't actually start playing regularly probably towards that season. The first couple of seasons, I maybe only played a handful of games now and then, So, but he came in, and Hearts ultimately had one of their most successful seasons. We finished second in the league and won the Scottish Cup. So that was a lot of it would have been down to George and the work he'd done in pre-season and what he bedded within the team.
How much can you remember from the days under the Lithuanian ownership and stuff? That must have been a sort of crazy time. Of course, the owner sort of was wanting to sort of take charge of the team and bringing out all these Lithuanian players and stuff. Of course, it must have been exciting and stuff like that. It was hard to... Did most of them speak English? Was it one of those situations where it's hard to communicate or anything like that?
The majority of the Lithuanian boys they brought over, their English was pretty good. Don't get me wrong, there was one or two who struggled, but over the piece, there were some really good technical players, and they were actually they were good guys. I'm still friends with a few of them on Facebook or Instagram, and I couldn't say a bad word about them. Romanoff, he came in and he spent a lot of money, and we established a squad that was, I don't know figures on that, but we would have been playing very, very good wages for that standard of football, and it brought in the short term success, and we had some exciting players. I mind one of the Lithuanians we had was Edgar Jankauskas. He played for Porto, I think Benfica as well. He won the Champions League when Jose Mourinho was there, so that was the calibre of player we were bringing in. Also, Takis Fisis, left back, he had just won don't know how many years before or a year before, he just won the European Championships with Greece, and he was another massive experienced player who was, if we're looking back now, it's that calibre of player now to attract the Hearts would be very difficult, just the way Scottish football is. Yeah. And so, he did. For the short term, it was great, 2 or 3 years, and obviously it kind of went a bit sour. Yeah. And obviously we had all our problems. We did go through a lot of managers as well, had some all sorts of managers, but over the piece, I enjoyed my time. That's when I got sold down south, was under Romanov, and he made that as easy as possible.
Yeah. In terms of, you still wasn't a regular at that point, but, you had unused sub in the Scottish Cup final. That must have been a great experience, being sort of part of all that, and, seeing your boyhood club winning it.
Yeah, it was. I was actually disappointed not to play, and maybe looking back, I was maybe being a bit too keen. I was just breaking into the team, but I thought I had a good chance of playing, but they decided to pick Ibrahim Tollett instead, and that was the manager's decision. But yeah, overall, I think I was 18-year-old. I think it was anyway, and it was a great experience. That winning the cup, going down on the bus coming back from Glasgow to Edinburgh, and the streets were lined with Hearts supporters. The next day on the Sunday when you do the parade along Princes Street to the stadium, it was tens and thousands of supporters. And when I look back as well, it was a game that it went to penalties, and it could have so easily went the other way, and it would have been a totally, because we were playing against Gretna, I think. Mm-hmm. I don't know if Gretna were a division below us, and there were a team who had spent a bit of money with their manager for a really small club, and they had a great season, and they took it right to the wire, and it could have easily went the other way, and we were massive favourites. And as I said, from going from such a high to winning the cup, on the other end, it could have been such a disaster, and it had been such a disaster because we were overriding favourites.
Yeah. Then, of course, the next season, George Burley at that point's left, and you've got these different managers coming in, but that was you when you became established. You played in the Champions League, the qualifiers, and becoming a regular in the top flight of Scottish football. That must have been good for you to, at a young age, breaking through and getting your chance to play.
Yeah, it was a great experience. That was, as you said, my breakthrough season, playing in European Champions League and European qualifiers, going away to, I think, one of the games we went to away to, I don't know if it was a team in Bosnia, and I think it was like 40 degrees when we came off the plane. It was so hot, I think we managed to get a 0-0 draw over there after maybe winning 1 or 2-0 at home. Then we went to another big game against AEK Athens. We played at Murrayfield in front of maybe 40,000 fans. They beat us, they were just a different calibre from the team that we were. It was a great experience, and obviously going over to Athens as well. I think we might have got beat 3-0. I'm not off the top of my head.
That's correct.
It was disappointing, but when I look back now, I was young, it was a massive eye-opener, and a great experience for myself, and I was very fortunate to manage to play in those kind of games, and obviously the club seen me as a prospect, a youth prospect. Hearts throughout the past have obviously kind of been known to bring some players through and sell them on, and I was fortunate enough to be a regular in that team.
Yeah. Then, of course, the following season, you, of course, went on to win, your first Scottish cap as well, and that must have been good for you, is that, now you're getting noticed at the international level.
Yeah, I don't know, actually. I think that first time a cap was actually under George Burley as well. Okay. I'm sure it could have been Holland or away at the Amsterdam Arena. I think we got beat. We got beat 2-0 or 3-0. We actually didn't play bad. I actually gave a penalty away against Huntelaar. I think it was to make it 3-0. So the game was gone. But they had Robin playing. They had some of the top players playing from that time. We actually, as I said, we didn't play that bad. Maybe the result was a bit, flattering. But it was, for myself, it was a great experience. I don't know if that was my debut or that was my first start. But yeah, that was what. That experience, playing in Amsterdam Arena, it's one of the famous stadiums in the world, and against no other team than Holland, who were one of the renowned for creating technically gifted youngsters and players, and that was I've got the strip framed actually from that game as well. So that is that will live with me for a long time.
Of course, you got on to win 41 caps, scoring 4 goals. That must be great to represent your country, and you're scoring goals as well. I remember there's one goal think you scored late on. That must have been a great experience.
41. I probably sometimes don't appreciate as much how many times I've played for my country, but I will do one day when I retire and I'll look back. I've been fortunate enough to 41 games and to get 4 goals is even an added bonus, And every game, a part of me, I think I should have played more. There was times when I thought I should have been picked, but the manager didn't. And towards my best run at the end was under Gordon Strachan, who at first when he came in he didn't play much, but then towards the end when we went on that good run, I played every game, and I played in some massive games which I'll remember for the rest of my life.
Hopefully I got this fact right. You became one of the youngest captains in Scottish top flight history. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it was at the time. I was either 20 or 21 year old. Yeah. It was a Hearts, obviously, under Romanoff. He decided to, the manager decided to make me captain. It was a great experience. There's probably I look back as well, they were probably wanted to sell me at some point as well. So giving me the captaincy would have, raised my profile as well. And I really enjoyed it. There was tough times as well. We went through periods when towards the end of the Romanoff era we were getting problems with money wise, and we maybe not get paid on time. I'd be getting told, you're not going to get paid until 2 or 3 times. So really, totally different now from when it was back then when I was captain as well. I've learned a lot from then, and when you're that age, you don't take your life too seriously. You don't take obviously you take the captaincy being serious when you're going out to pitch and training, but all the other little jobs that come with being captain, you didn't realise at the time how important they were, be like giving tickets out, organising stuff, where as you get older and more experienced, I think you feel there's more added responsibility to do things and help out the players or the staff or whatever, be it with tickets and other little things, and look after people and go to club events and represent the club. Whereas when I was back then, 2021, it kind of just probably goes over your head a little bit, and you're just living in the moment. But and when you get older, you look back and you realise that it was a big responsibility on my shoulders at such a young age.
Yeah. As you said, they were looking to sell you at that point, and not because they don't want you anymore. That it's just at the time they probably needed some money. And was there any other clubs interested before Wolves came in? Any other places?
I don't know if there was concrete. There have been rumours about Fulham and a couple of other English teams, and there was a German team as well. I kind of got mentioned to me as well from the club, and obviously I ended up going to Wolves, which I think the club had rejected a couple of offers prior in a couple of transfer windows. And I look back sometimes and I say, could I maybe waited, because I left on the 31st of January, the last day of the transfer window, which was my birthday as well. Yeah. It's quite funny because that's when when I went alone when I was about just not long ago, it was on the 31st as well. So I seem to do a lot of things on my birthday, big things in my life. So when that happened, I sometimes look back because I think that season we finished, I was working under Chabalazzo. I think we might have finished third that season, and sometimes I look back in hindsight, should have stayed there till then another 3 or 4 months and seen the season out and maybe had more options at the time, but you can't live like that. I went to Wales, a massive club, and we went and won the championship. I've got a league medal.
That's brilliant.
And ultimately went to play in the Premier League for 3 years. So it was. It happened all quite quickly. It was on. I think we were playing I don't know if we were playing Hamilton on Saturday, and it was a Friday. I got told about it that the club had been accepted an offer. So on the Saturday, Saturday morning, I flew down to Wolves, watched the game, done my medical on the Sunday morning. No, that Saturday night after the game, stayed in the hotel, trained on the Sunday morning, which is quite, when I look back, it was quite a big thing because there's so many emotions going through your body, a lot of stress and that, because you want to do the medical and that and get through everything. And I trained on the Sunday, Sunday morning, it wasn't 100% because my head was all over the place, just because it was just a big, massive thing that happened. I think I was 23 or just turned 24. Obviously, it was my birthday. As I said, it was coming down, flying down, and I don't know how I managed to get my car. I don't know if someone drove it down for me or my mum and dad, or I had to go back up and get it. But yeah, it was massive. As I said, I played that my first game, proper game, against Coventry away, and it was they had like Leon Best and someone else up front who really powerhouses, strong and athletic, and I think we got beat 2-1.
Yeah.
It was an eye opener how physically stronger and competitive the league was, how much stronger I had to get. So yeah, it was in the first game I'm thinking of, get beat. I actually should have scored as well, or I missed a sitter, I think, on the header. But then I think the next game, I don't know who it was, maybe Burnley away. I think we went there and maybe drew, I'm not sure, and or we might have got beat, I'm not sure. But I actually played pretty well, and the manager pulled me aside and said, well done, that was more like it. So yeah, from then on I kind of got settled into the team, and I think I played 15 or 16 games that were left in that season, and we won the league.
Yeah. Of course, you're saying manager there, that's Mick McCarthy, of course, a manager you reunited at Town, but what was Mick like at Wolves? And of course you went on to have success, getting promoted that season and helping them get promoted.
Yeah, Mick was Mick really. I have the greatest respect for him. He had a great career as a player, and he took that into being a manager. I don't know how long he's been a manager for, years and years now, tens of years. Very experienced. His man management skills are second to none. He's just, you respect him, but you fear him at the same time. You wouldn't want to get on his wrong side, but he was one of I still call him the gaffer, to be honest. One of his main attributes was his honesty. He's straight down the middle. And looking back now, one thing, if I do ever go into management, is one thing I will try to be as a manager, I'll be honest, because I think as a player that's what you respect. I've worked under some managers in the past who say one thing to you and do something different, and that's when you start to worry. But Mick was the total opposite. He told you straight down the middle. He had no ways about it. And you knew where you stood, and as a player and as a human being, I think that's the best policy, really.
Then of course now you're in the top flight. There must have been your dream there to hopefully play top flight of English football. You play top flight of Scottish football, now top flight of English football. What's your big memories from playing? There are 3 seasons during that time at Wolves. What's any good memories, any games that stick out for you?
Those 3 years, when you look back now, they flew by. They were great experience. It was tough at times, don't get me wrong. Going into the league, one of the smaller clubs just coming up with a small budget. We didn't spend much on players compared to other leagues, so the squad and the manager, we were punching above our weight at times, and we managed to get 3 seasons there. I think with a bit more investment, we could have stepped on like Wolves now. Are totally different. The money there is ridiculous. We never had that kind of money back then. But there was games we managed to beat. Apart from Arsenal, I think we managed to beat all the so-called top 5-6 teams. We went to Anfield on, I think, a Monday night, and live on television we won 1-0. Stephen Ward scored the winner there. We beat Man United. We've beat Chelsea. We had a lot of good games against Tottenham. We beat Tottenham away as well and drew there. The only team we didn't ever beat was Arsenal. We went to the Emirates twice. We definitely drew once there. I think we drew once there 1-1 or 0-0. I'm not sure, but there was one time as well. I remember this game quite fondly. We were drawn, I think, at the time, and literally a minute to go, I don't know who it was. It might be Ronald Zubar actually. Somebody made a mistake or something, or nothing major that happened, and we conceded, and we came in, and the gaffer was fuming. We were so close to getting another. I think it was a draw anyway at the Emirates against a team who, had some like Van Persie in that front. It was one of the big teams in England. But over the piece, we had some great. Another game that springs to mind, I think it was Monday night as well, away to West Ham on live on television. I think they were kind of near the bottom with us as well, and I think we managed to beat them 3-0 at West Ham. So that was another I think Matt Jarvis scored, and maybe Ronald Zuber scored as well. You know, that was another game that springs to mind.
You may have been asked this before in terms of, you know, some of the big names, you know, you played against. Who was sort of one of the difficult, you know, you mentioned Van Persie, but out of those, you know, the big strikers, you know, which one was the toughest, you know, opponent for you?
Van Persie, he was always playing on your shoulder, you know. If you couldn't see him, he could see you, but you couldn't see him, so his movement was good. But one of the players that always kind of stands out to me a little bit, it's not so much the world-class players, and well, he was world-class to belt, he was up there anyway. It was Berbatov, you know. Sometimes the way he plays with his hands down, you don't think much of him, but my God, if he got the ball into his feet, you're not getting off it. You know, his first touch, his protection of the ball, his shielding the ball was second to none, you know, and he was so strong. And sometimes on telly you think, oh, he's not that fast, you know, he doesn't look that fast, but he could shift as well. And so Berbatov, when he played that only a few times, he kind of stood out to me. Technically, he was second to none, you know. He's, as I said, his shielding of the ball, his strength, where he kept the ball, if he had it at his feet, you're never getting off him.
Yeah. Then, of course, unfortunately, got relegated in the third season. Of course, Mick got sacked. Terry Connor, his assistant, then became manager. What was the difference between, you know, Terry, once again, he's well known, but, you know, what was your reaction when you heard, Mick was getting sacked and Terry was going to come in to take over the reins just for them?
Yeah, I think it's, if I'm being in all honesty, I think it's difficult sometimes when, this is from my experience, when assistant managers get made into the management, the first team manager at a time, because usually the assistant managers kind of that, you know, that go between the players and the manager, and you have that kind of a relationship with the assistant manager you won't so much have with the manager, because, you know, there's a kind of, you know, you don't overstep the line with the manager, you know, there's this barrier where you're a bit fearful, but where assistant managers, you can have a wee joke and a muck about in a play, you know, and a bit of banter with them. But then Terry came in, it was difficult. We were a team that was on a downward spiral, you know, we were, and when you're in that league, everyone knows that it's so hard to buy a win, and that's the way we were, and it was difficult. Terry couldn't, he tried to adapt things, what I can remember, but as I said, it would have been so difficult. You couldn't adapt the squad. We only had the players that we had, and, you know, there was, probably at the time wasn't the greatest atmosphere in the changing room. You know, we had some players who just, I don't know, just like, you get different characters, and when things are not going well, it kind of just, it worked against us, and in the end we got relegated, but it's nothing to do with Terry at all. You know, we were already, it was just the way we were going, and there's nothing that could have been changed, to be honest. We tried our best, and it was not for the lack of trying. We just, I think, just the circumstances, and we got used to getting beat, and in that league, you know, it's ruthless. Yeah.
Then, of course, unfortunately, again, you've suffered back-to-back relegations. I was shocked as anybody when you know, that season when Wolves were playing the Premier League only a season before, and now they're going to be playing League One football. You know, what was, you know, sort of going on back then? You know, I don't know if you at that stage wanted to maybe leave. You know, you want maybe go back to the Premier League, or maybe go somewhere else.
Yeah, we started that season. I actually didn't start that season. I started on the bench. We were away to 1-0. We got beat 1-0 away to Leeds. I was on the bench. The new manager came in, Stallbacken, who's, I think he's Norwegian, and he's the manager of FC Copenhagen just now. Yeah. And he came from there as well. And at first he didn't fancy me, but after the first game, he put me in the team. And ultimately, I'm not just saying this, I actually, maybe that season, I played one of my best seasons football-wise. I improved as an individual as well, and he actually made me a better individual player, you know, just through his training a little bit, and the way he wanted to play, it maybe took my game on a little bit. Our results, we started the season pretty well, I think, actually, that season, but then we seemed to just we were losing out games narrowly, 1-0, so-and-so, and, you know, he came under a lot of scrutiny, and I think we went to Luton in the FA Cup, and we got beat 1-0 down at Luton, and he got sacked after that. I think that was just in January, and we were kind of, I'm sure we were just mid-table. We're probably about the same number of points off playoffs to relegation zone. The club decided to get rid of him. Then they brought in Dean Saunders, brought Dean Saunders in. I played the first few games and I actually done alright, and I'm not just saying this. Like, under Stallback, it was probably... Yeah, I think Stoller said to me as well, you've been playing well and stuff like that. And, I'd been playing well as an individual. Obviously, we weren't getting the results as a team, which was unfortunate. But then Dean came in. I think I played the first 2 or 3 games under him. And then after that, I just totally got binned, and I wasn't even in the squads. I was still training with the boys and that, but match day squads wasn't in it. So about for the last, 3-4 months, I don't know how many games it was, 20 games or so, I wasn't involved with the team at all, and which was a bit disappointing. I think the club so my agent said they maybe wanted to extend maybe talk about a new deal, and at the time I'd been at the club for maybe about 4.5 seasons, and I loved the club and I really enjoyed my time there, and great facilities, great fans, it's a massive club as you can see now, but I just felt I needed a change, that maybe that, I don't know, that desire and motivation to prove myself and move on somewhere else and doing it. I just felt like that, so I didn't really want to commit to anything. And I don't know, I don't know what went on. I don't know if it was the manager just didn't fancy me or what. They already said, you're not going to be here next season. I don't want you. But if you ask anyone who knows me, I'm not a bad egg at all. I'm an honest person. I wouldn't cause trouble at all. I'm just not that type of guy. I was not involved, and I think the last game of the season, we're already relegated, I'm sure. We were playing away to Brighton, and I trained on the Friday, and Dean just says, you're not in the squad, so you don't have to... No, the games prior to that, I was in the squad. I travelled on the match day, but I was just never on the bench for that. In that last game, it kind of just said to me, Friday, I was expecting to travel, I had my bags packed to go, and I just said, you don't have to come, you're not in the squad, so you can just stay here. So basically, I had to go say bye to the boys, which was emotional, and definitely. I just literally packed my bags and drove up the road. It was a probably disappointing way it kind of ended, because I'd been there for 4.5 years, and I think I got a bit of stick from the fans as well, but they don't know that. You only hear reports, and that's fair. Fans are passionate about. It's nothing to do with the club and that or anything. They treated me really well. Fans were great to me. I gave them all, and obviously it was a negative point at the club, as in we probably had a lot of players who were still from the Premier League, and probably not myself included, because I was never on the kind of money that certain players were, and like players maybe just found it comfy and were picking a wage packet, which is not all of them, that's for sure, definitely not all of them. But it needed a clear out, and they've done that. They brought in a new manager, and the manager get promoted, and they went from strength to strength.
Then your next move, of course, is reuniting with your old gaffer, Mick McCarthy at Ipswich. Was that one of the first sort of moves that you thought was going to happen in the summer, or was there any other clubs you were, talking to?
It wasn't really. I went back up home, and I was waiting for a couple of months and for things to happen, and I actually realised it's not that easy when you're a free agent to get a club all the time, unless you're a top star. I think as the years go on, it's harder and harder, because teams have their squads already built and their manager, their money differently. And I was never going to go to the Premier League, to a top team who's got millions and millions of pounds. I'd just been relegated from the Championship, so it didn't look good on my CV, even though I didn't play a third of the games, But I was back home, and there was a couple of other mentions of other teams in England, my agent said, and one in Scotland. But then I'd been keeping myself fit. It was maybe two weeks before the season started, and I ended up going to Ipswich. At the time, it wasn't from on a contractual kind of situation. I got a 2-year deal. I think it was a 2-year deal, and like the money wasn't like at what I'd been used to. It wasn't. I was taking a substantial cut of it, but I wanted to play football, and Ipswich a massive club, great history, and I've worked under Mick before, and I went there. I drove down. I think it was 6.5 hours or so in the car from Edinburgh. I went to watch the first pre-season friendly. I'm sure it was away to, I think it was Barnet actually.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
it was Barnet. I was sitting on the sidelines, just on the bench. Then I signed, and then it kind of just took off from there, really.
Who sort of helped you? When you first came to the club, player-wise, sort of helped you, settle in and stuff.
When I first came, it was first when I met at the stadium to take me to the game. It was Simon Milton who took me to the game to watch the Barnet game. He was obviously the go-to for the players. And then when I arrived, it was. I'm trying to think the player-wise. I got. If anyone knows, I get on with everyone. Sometimes I'm quite quiet at first, until I come out my shell and get to know players. I'm quite, as I said, in general, quite a quiet person. So yeah, all the boys kind of made me feel welcome, and I played my first game. I don't know who it was in a friendly against. I don't know if it was Notts County or something. I don't know if that rings a bell. I'm not sure. Anyway, I didn't play great, and it just because I hadn't played football for 4 or 5 months. I've obviously been looking after myself, and fitness was fine, but just that sharpness and timing. So that first game, I was like, well, I'm a wee bit off it. But then I played a game maybe 3 or 4 days later. I'm not sure, maybe a week. And I was back to my best. And I started the season on the bench, and I don't know if it was 4 or 5 games in it. I came on and I started the game, and I didn't look back really. And I think I went from strength to strength.
To some of the games during your first season, of course, it was sort of a rebuild for Mick. He of course saved us from relegation the season before when he came in midway through the season. And then this was sort of a rebuild. He was bringing different players in, some experienced players. Murphy joined permanently after he had loads of loan spells. There's one game that sticks out early in that season, a 4-4 draw against Derby. You scored in that game. That was a mad game at Derby. We were 4-1 up at one point, I think. And then, what you scored in that game. What's your memories from that game?
Yeah, that was some game. Over the piece, we actually had a really good record at Derby. I think we won there a few times. One of my last games we won there as well. But yeah, 4-4, we were 4-1 up flying. I think it might be in half time. And for some reason, Derby, them, they're a massive club. They play big wages. They've got some players there, and they've underachieved, let's be honest, over the years since they've dropped out of the Premier League for the kind of squad they've got on paper and their financial backing. So we went there 4-1 up at half time. We're like, we probably couldn't believe it. Every time we attacked, we scored, but then we're probably lucky to finish the game 4-4 because the second half, Derby we just couldn't handle it. They were throwing bodies left, right and centre and managed to get the goals, and in the end we probably were happy to get out there with a draw and to get a point, because on another day they could have probably snatched a winner.
I remember when you signed, people went, wow, what a massive coup, because you're, I know you just suffered back-to-back relegations, but in terms of your stature and, I know a lot of fans back then, I remember they were going, wow, what a signing, on a free transfer and stuff. Going back to the Derby game quickly, actually, in terms of the at full time in the dressing room, what Mick was saying, was it just one of those freak games where that, of course, Steve McLaren, I think he wasn't in charge of Derby just then, but I know that was one of his first games he was watching. Did just Mick went? Of course, he may have been angry, but he must have think that's just a freak game, basically.
I can't remember exactly, but I don't think he would have said that was a freak game. I'm sure he would have absolutely hammered us, the defenders especially. And for being 4-1 up, I'm not exactly sure, but 100% he would have been fuming. The players were fuming as well, especially defenders. You can see the 4 goals, everyone's looking at defenders no matter who you are. You might have played well individually, but it doesn't matter, you're still part of a team or a back 4 that conceded 4 goals, so you've got to take the blame as well. So yeah, it was disappointing, but when you look back, it was a learning curve, and as I said before, over the piece, I think we had a really, really good record against Derby at their home stadium,
Next up, again, another game against Derby at Portman Road this time. Your late winner. What's your memories of that night?
Yeah, I've seen that video a few times on Instagram or YouTube, and that was a tough game. I think it was a Tuesday night or whatever it was, and it was a really, again, against Derby, they were always really competitive games. They had Chris Martin up front. They had some really good players, Richard Keogh at the back. And it was really so competitive. And I'm sure just before that, I done a crunching tackle just near the edge of the box. And I don't know if from that, maybe 5-10 minutes later, we got a corner. It just swung a big loopy one. I don't know if it was Aaron Creswell who took the corner, I'm not sure. A big loopy one back to the back stick, and I think Richard Keogh was marking me, and I managed to lose him and head it down. And all I remember was just running towards the main stand and high-fiving people up the touchline. That was that's definitely the goal that'll go down in memory for me at Ipswich.
Yeah, definitely. As you said, it's still talked about now. When it hits that day, it's an on this day sort of classic where you put it out, definitely with a celebration. And people love late winners, definitely under the lights at Ailey Stadium. But your first season, you're partnered up with Tommy. What was it like partnering up with him? Of course, you finished 9th that season. You're Player of the Year. What a first season, for you.
Yeah, it was. It couldn't have went any better. As I said, when I joined the club, the contract I got, I was probably, when I was a free agent, expecting, not that I'm this kind of guy, I'm not like, wherever I've been, I'm not a greedy person, put it that way. I was maybe expecting, being England, the Championship, you have to expect more. And obviously Marcus Evans, within his right, free agent, well, he's not, maybe, I might have not had many options, you might have been thinking that, so I'll give him this. But I went down there, proved myself, ended up getting a new contract on the back of that. And, I've always been up for a challenge in my life, and that season, I went down there with the bit between my teeth, and I wanted to show everyone like I was still a good player and I still had it, and I managed to do that. And playing with Tommy, he was both left-sided as well, so I think I played on the right quite a bit actually that season. I'm not sure, or we alternated it a little bit. We had a strong. I think under Mick, most of his teams are strong defensively. Not that he ultimately works on defending all the time. He's just the way the demands he puts on the players to defend, to put your head where it hurts and that, and it gets the best out of players. So, and over the piece, I think at Portman Road, we had a really, really good record at home, especially. I'm sure one of the records, especially midweek as well. Midweek games at home at Portman Road were ridiculous, when it hardly ever lost any games and that, and especially in that league, there's a lot of big teams in it who paid a lot more money than Ipswich. I know Ipswich back in the day would have, I think, they spent a lot. Marcus Evans had spent a lot of money under previous managers, but then Mick came in and done things on a really small budget, and Marcus kind of went along with that because he probably thought, well, we don't need to spend as much, and he's done that, and we had some good seasons and we created some good memories as well.
The following season, of course, you got in the playoffs. I think the whole squad's total was 10 grand basically on Tyrone Mings. I think the rest were free agents or through the youth. So, going into that season, did you feel something could be happening? You finished 9th the previous season. This season was an opportunity to maybe do better.
Yeah, I think starting the season, as you said, obviously we only spent 10 grand on Tyrone Mings, and that just sums up Mick. He's never really had loads of money to spend at clubs he's went to, and he's always got the best out of squads, and he managed to improve players and sell them on and make a profit for the club as well. But that season, we went. I think you start every season, you want to get into the playoffs, especially you want to get promoted first and foremost, and if not, get into the playoffs, and that was our aim. We managed to keep most people fit, and I think we were solid as a team. We didn't concede loads of goals, but to win games you need to score goals, and obviously having Didsey and Murph up front, they were prolific, and I would have liked to play against them too on their day. They complemented each other really well, and they were the focal point of our team to get into the playoffs really.
To be fair, you scored a few goals yourself as well with Tommy. That playoff season, I think you scored 6 goals. 2 of them were earlier in the season against Birmingham, another late winner. Can you remember that?
Yeah, I think me and Tommy always had a little wee competition. Yeah. I think in my first season I scored 5 and maybe my second 6, and one of the one that made it 6 was one that Tommy glanced and he was claiming it went over the line. I think it might have been against Huddersfield, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And I managed to toe poke it in. So that's what just took me above Tommy, I think. He still probably laughs about it. But yeah, that. What was the question you asked again? Sorry, I totally forgot after I was getting off on one.
Just about goals, basically. The Birmingham game, of course, you
The
scored
Birmingham.
twice.
Yeah, I remember. Actually, I think my first goal for Ipswich was away to Birmingham. It might be my debut. I'm not sure. We drew 1-1 against Birmingham. I mind that. But then the one that I think you're talking about was we played. Don't know if it was Birmingham away or it might be on a Tuesday night, and I scored 2 goals. One was from a corner. I think the last one we were 2-1 down. Minutes left on the clock, and I just stayed up front and ball got down, put down the right wing. I think Ando crossed it from a kind of deep position in, and I just slid in at the front post, and it went in, and we managed to get a 2-2 draw at a tough place to play football.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do 100% remember that game.
Yeah. Then of course, going to have to bring up the playoffs. You've probably been spoken about this a few times, but of course we had to play Norwich, didn't we, in the semis, and we drew the first game. What an experience that was! When as you said, Ando, he went and scored in that game, and the just the scenes and the loudness when he scored, and unfortunately it was a 1-1 draw in the end, and then we went into the second leg. Going into the second leg, how are you feeling?
Yeah, it was obviously the first game at home. It was big atmosphere, massive game, 1-1. It was a really tight game, just like the second leg was kind of going towards before I got sent off. It was going on the bus, staying up at Norwich the night before. The games you want to play in, and it was always a tough place to go. I don't think we had a good record there for a number of years, so we knew it was going to be a very big ask from us, but we had the players to do it. We had, as I said, we had Murph and Didsey up front, who were, as I said, if they were up there with the best 2 strikers in the league at the time, and obviously me getting sent off. I think at the time it was just starting the second half. When I look back now, I still think to myself, it's one of my regrets. Obviously, I handballed the ball, but I didn't mean to handball the ball. It was just one of these instincts. You're kind of, your arms are by your side a little bit. It's going in the corner. You're just natural. It's not like I'm not a stupid player who people who get sent off for rash tackles or do stupid stuff. It's just not me. It was not an instinct that I thought, right, I'm going to hand the ball here or something going to net, because I look back now, I think I'd have just let the ball go in the net if I could have, but I don't know what it was. My hand was there. It wasn't out at the side by loads. It was just where it was, and it just, unfortunately, it kind of just cost us the game, really. And it is a regret. Not that I had any control of it. I don't think it's just one of these things that happens in football. And yeah, it was. I was gutted for it, to be honest.
What were you thinking when you went into the dressing room? There's still a lot of game to go. I think they went on and scored the penalty, and then Tommy went on to score the equaliser. And of course, you must have been able to watch it, hopefully, in the dressing room and stuff. What was going on with you?
Yeah, I just went in there. I was just waiting. Obviously, when Norwich took the lead, and I was a wee bit. I just had my head in my head in my hands. Really, I was just scared, to be honest. You keep on watching it and replaying it in your head. Could I have done this? Could I have done that? Or could have someone done this to stop the situation? But football is what it is, and I don't know. It's maybe made me the person I am. I'm not sure. As I said, I didn't intentionally do that. As I said, I'm not that stupid to do that. Just one of those instincts you can't really do anything about, and it was just, I wish I could turn the clock back, and I don't know, and just because we would have been. I think that game, it would have went right to the wire. It could have went any way if we were 11v11, because the game was so tight. And it is a regret, but that's football for you, and you can't look back in hindsight and say, I wish I'd done that, and that it happened for a reason, and that's just the way football is, really.
Yeah. Sorry to keep talking about it, but
that's all right.
What did sort of Mick and the lads sort of went after the game? Of course, everyone's disappointed we lost the game, but what did all the lads sort of say to you? Of course, that must have been the first time you were able to sort of talk to them.
Yeah, no, they come in, everyone's disappointed. Yeah. There's no point. It's not like the gaffer could really have a massive go at me, because he knows me personally. Yeah. He's known me longer than he's probably known a lot of players in that changing room, and I've not done anything out of deliberate. It's not like I've went and got red carded and wiped someone out stupidly and done something like it was just inexcusable. It was just one of these things. The gaffer's been in that situation before, and they said it's not. As I said, it wasn't a deliberate action. It was just one of the things. So yeah, he was proud of us, but just obviously disappointed at the same time.
Then next season we finished 7th. Another season for you. A few other players came in, of course. Another Scot in Ryan Fraser came in, and what a player he was.
Yeah, he was. He came in. He was different. He was dynamic, quick. Just a typical winger. Really good skill, and you could tell that he's not that I know Eddie Howe or that, but I hear that he's very on it. He kind of improves the player individually, and if you look at Bournemouth, they tend to buy a lot of younger players and improve them individually. And you could see under Ryan his dedication as a player. He was in the gym working on a training pitch, and as you see now, he's went on to bigger and better things, and he's really improved his game. And I think that time at Ipswich done him the world of good. Getting used to playing a competitive league and the rough and tumble of the league as well added to that, adding his quality as an individual player. He made a big difference for us, and I don't know how many points we missed out in the playoffs that season, but it wouldn't have been much, I don't think.
I'll quickly see if I can find the table quickly. I think it was only like 4 points or something like that. Or 5 points altogether. So yeah, just missed out basically. Another player that was on loan as well, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, so he's gone on to do well for Arsenal. He was still a young lad as well. In terms of when you're a permanent player, when loan players come in, is it what's the sort of different dynamic? Because you sort of know definitely the young players, they're going to go back to their permanent club. How do you sort of interact with them and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think when he came in, Maitland-Niles, he came in, he was quiet, he was younger, so he was maybe a bit more shy, and he kept himself to himself. And usually when you're that younger, you kind of attach yourself to the younger boys. So I think he was, I don't know who hanged about me, Tyrone and that as well, and kind of players like that, and he came in, he didn't play all the time, but he really showed glimpses of what kind of quality he had. And he come from a massive club at Arsenal, so he obviously had some sort of talent, and he's went on it once again to not be a regular for Arsenal, but he's been involved a lot over the last season or so, and played in some big games and done well, playing a position that I think it was right back where he obviously at Ipswich he played more of, I think, right midfield or centre midfield, and he's athletic, he could dribble the ball, he was strong as well, and he had individual ability. And I'm sure that loan spell at Ipswich kind of would have done him the world of good as well. And a reality, it's not sometimes you're at these big clubs that you play academy football under 21 when that's not what real football is about. And that's why a lot of these clubs send players out, for them to experience the other side of football when it's people are playing for their livelihoods and that, and the championships like that. There's a lot at stake. Whereas I said, academy footballers not. It's just about performing and maybe winning the game or how the team plays and performing individually. But at championship level or league level, no matter what, there's points at stake, and it's about winning in the end.
Then the following season, of course, what came up to be your last season, of course, it wasn't as successful as the last 2 seasons. Were you disappointed that season? Of course, I want to bring up one game quickly. It wasn't in the league, it was in the FA Cup against Lincoln. That was not a great night on TV. What's your memories of that horrible day?
That was one of the worst games I think I've ever played individually. We drew with them at 2-2 at home, and I don't know if we could have won that game. I'm not really sure. I can't remember the game. But going away to Lincoln on a Monday night live on telly, FA Cup, pitch was terrible. Against the team were flying high, and they played away. That Matt Reid up front. Honest, I couldn't move him. He was so obviously he's not the most athletic guy in the world, but he was so strong, and you just could not shift him for a header or that. And they played direct, and I had a terrible game that day. I'm sure a lot of other players did as well. But on an individual performance, as I said, it was nowhere near my ability, my performance levels. It was really a poor showing for myself. I managed to keep it 0-0 until the last minute, I think it was.
Yeah.
I don't know if we had a corner and they broke and scored, and we took a lot of stick for that. But then again, Lincoln did not go and beat Brighton and Burnley the next 2 games.
They did, yeah.
You look back and think, well, it wasn't that bad a result when a Championship and Premier League team are getting getting beat off them as well, you know. So, but yeah, that could be up there with one of the worst games I've ever played in, and played myself.
That season, did you think it was going to be your last season? I think I read that you were, thinking about going back to Scotland, of course, back with your family and friends and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Did you feel like going into that season that was going to be the possibility?
I think, looking back now, I think it kind of in the back of my head, I did. When I look back now from my experiences, and it's the same for managers, I think sometimes when you go to clubs, unless you're at a top club and you're playing there all your life and you're happy there, and that's fine. But I think to get the best out of players, I think, and managers as well, I think there's a time scale, 3 to 4 years, I think really is that kind of level, on my personal point of view, whereas sometimes after that kind of period, you can only do so much, and then you need to move on. And especially a team like Ipswich, it's not like we were spending lots of money and bringing players in to push to get in. We were kind of, we were punching above our weight always, and Mick done a remarkable job there, as you can see when he's left now. A lot of people want him out, which is understandable, which is fine. Everyone views their opinions and has their own opinions in football. But at that time, he done a remarkable job, and to get that club challenging on the budget compared to a lot of Championship teams challenging for playoffs every season, basically. And I left because not that I love my time there. I look back as well. It was a great club, really friendly place as well, and training facilities were great. The stadium was great, and the boys, everyone was good. Chamberlain, what a great captain. Such a good guy, enthusiastic, and he loves the club, and the staff there as well, and the staff, there, everyone, you couldn't say a bad word about anyone, to be honest. But I just felt I needed a change. I needed to, I wanted to come back and finish my career in Scotland, and that was an ample opportunity to do that.
Yeah. How understanding were the club, and did you speak to any of your teammates, or of course you spoke to Mick about it, but how understanding were they?
Yeah, they were fine. They understood my situation. Mick, as I said, manager. I think he was disappointed, but he understood it, and so did Terry Connor as well. And obviously, my agent would have spoke to Marcus, and once again he was disappointed because the club had an option. I think, well, don't quote me on this, but I think they would have took up on me. But as long as I didn't kind of go to another English club in it, that was fine. I wanted to go back up to Scotland, and they were, I had four great seasons there. I'd love to go back one day and watch a team, and I don't know, maybe manage down England one day as well if I have that opportunity. But it was a great time. But as I go back to, if you look managers these days, sometimes I think managers, apart from the very odd few, as in Alex Ferguson, maybe Eddie Howe, and that, there's sometimes you just got to realise that I've got to move on now and go somewhere else and get a new challenge and that. And I ended up going to Hearts, and my first year I got Player of the Year there as well, And so I think for me, 3-4.5 seasons at a club, that's when you get the best out of me. That kind of, I don't know, because especially when you're moving away from home, that kind of, I don't know, that enthusiasm and that consistency, and you're putting high level of performances in, because there's times when I didn't play as well, but because people get used to you and you've maybe set your limit so high that you get judged on that. But there's games when people might think you're not played that well, but you've actually not played that bad, but it's just because the circumstance of the game, or we might have got beat, or we might have been conceding a bit, but that's football for you. But as I say, I go back to, as I said, more so probably the managers. Sometimes managers can outlive their time at a club, and they don't get appreciated as much. For example, I don't know, Pochettino at Tottenham. Sometimes there's times just to move on. And I've done my best here. I've really enjoyed it, but I'm going to go on somewhere else. I've left the club in a good place, and you move on to something different.
Yeah. Do you speak to some of your former team at Ipswich? And of course, you've seen the current situation of the club. What was your reaction when you found we were getting in the relegation battle, and of course got relegated?
Now and then I've texted Chamber a few times in the past, and I'm friends with a few of the guys on social media, some are not there at the moment as well. They've moved on. But it was. I wasn't there. Maybe I'll look back. Maybe it was a good time that I left because the next again season, and obviously things turned sour against Mick, and once again, Mick had probably took the club as far as it could have. But he wanted to try that last chance, and fans didn't appreciate that. And sometimes everyone wants change, and sometimes change is good, but sometimes you've got to do it the right way, and ultimately it didn't work out. That's not saying that it wasn't the right decision to obviously get rid of Mick. I'm not saying that at all, but ultimately it didn't work out, and the team got relegated, which is, but we all know English football. There's been massive clubs who get relegated to League One, but they can bounce back and go back up the leagues. For example, Leicester have done it.
Wolves
have done it.
Yeah.
Bournemouth have done it. So sometimes you might need to take a step back to take 2 steps forwards, and hopefully in the long term that's what will happen. The club can rebuild and move from strength to strength, because as with a lot of clubs in the Championship and maybe a few in League One, they have all the facilities and the size of the club to be playing in the Premier League, and Ipswich would be a massive club in the Premier League as well if it had the financial backing, and a great kind of place to live as well. Really homely and quiet, and nice people, and nice weather as well. It's always sunny down there and dry, so not far from London. So you never know. Football changes quickly, and hopefully they get under the current manager Paul Lambert. They can they started the season off well, but they just dropped off towards the end. But once again, that league is ruthless. There's a lot of big clubs in there, and it's very difficult.
Yeah. How where did you sort of live during your time at the club?
I stayed in Kesgrave, so literally a mile from the training ground. So it would not take me long. Grange Farm it was actually.
Oh, that's where I live. That's where I'm living now.
Was it? All right, okay. Yeah. That's where Bart lived as well. Bartos lived as well. So it was handy, quiet. It was really quiet down there, and nice. So couldn't complain. Yeah.
Then, of course, the return to Scotland, as you said, and back to your former club of Hearts. As you said, player of the season that first season, next season. Bring up unfortunately the Scottish Cup final defeat. What's your memories of that? I actually spoke to one of my mates who went to the game itself and actually apparently bumped into you in the pub after the defeat, and briefly spoke to you, and just what's your memories from that?
Yeah, well, first year I went back up. I was going into a team that was kind of Hearts are. For anyone who doesn't know Hearts are probably, I'd say, third or fourth biggest team in Scotland. There's Celtic, Rangers, and there's either Hearts, Aberdeen, Hibs, those kind of teams. Stadium 20,000, you can sell out most weekends, especially if you're doing well and you're flying high in the league. It's sold out every week. Passionate fans, they've got big expectations. And as I said, I came back, player of the year. I was coming to a team that was a lot of youngsters coming through, and we had a really good defensive record. We were solid as a team. I think we finished mid-table. In the second, was it my first season? I don't know if it was my first season or the second season. I think we kept a club record of 6 or 7 or 8 clean sheets in a row. I don't know if that was the second season, I'm not sure. Got a player of the year, and I think the second year I might have got runner-up, I'm not sure. And as again, we probably spent a bit of money, and the big expectations, and we didn't really hit them off. We got to the Scottish Cup final, which was massive. We had a disappointing season. We just finished in the top 6, whereas we were expecting to finish third. That's our expectations. To get to Europe, we just finished in the top 6 before it got split. Scottish Cup final. We had a really good run in this cups. Actually, then we got to a couple of semi-finals and a cup final. We're in another semi-final actually, but obviously obviously due to the coronavirus, it's been stopped just now. But it was a massive game. Celtic, who the dominant force in Scottish football, and it was such a tight game. It was just unfortunate we just didn't have that. Their star striker Edward scored a penalty and 2 goals. And he's been linked with some big moves down south to Arsenal and stuff like that. And Celtic do have a tendency in doing that. They sold Dembele to Lyon, who's getting linked to Man United now. Had Virgil van Dijk from who went to Southampton, and we all know who he is now. So it's always an uphill battle. But one of the games that stood out was that first season. Actually, Celtic were the season before they went unbeaten.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it was my first season or second season, but we broke that unbeaten record when we beat them 4-0 at home at Tynecastle. Which, and a team we had a lot of youngsters. Harry Cochran was just coming into the scene. He was only like 16 or 17, and there's 4-0 against Celtic. It never happens, Never happens. And with a team that weren't full of big experienced players, we had a lot of youngsters in it as well, and it was just one of those games that you look back thinking that'll go down in history. You know what I mean? 4-0 against Celtic. Brendan Rodgers was the manager, and a club I started off with, got a lot of good memories here as well.
Of course, reuniting with Craig Levein. Of course, he came manager, I think, very early on in that first season, and he unfortunately, he had a few seasons with you, and stuff like that, and then he got sacked, and then the current manager came in, and it's of course publicised as out there that he just didn't fancy you, basically. What's your thoughts on that? I know.
Yeah, obviously Craig was the manager, and then we were just having a bad run of form, and we weren't getting any better, and the club decided to part ways, and then we brought in Daniel Stendhal. Came in, played the first 2 or 3 games before the winter break, and came back, and basically just out his plans, wasn't involved, and then that's the decision. He's come in, he wants to stamp his authority, and he's done that. That doesn't fancy me as a player. So I went on loan to. Then actually on my birthday, as I said, transfer window day, 31st of January. It must have been about 9 o'clock at night. It got the go ahead. I went on loan to Dundee. Another big club in Scotland with a lot of history. They just got relegated the season before. A big turnover. They went down to the Championship, and they were pushing to get in the playoffs. They had a bit of an inconsistent season because, as I said, they had a turnover of players. And I went there, and I signed at 9 o'clock at night. I played on that was a Friday night. I played on the Saturday, and
wow.
I played 6 games there. We've unbeaten in 6 games. We've kept 5 clean sheets and only conceded 1 goal, which was in that first game from a deflected free kick. So I went there and started to play football again after not playing for about 4 or 5 weeks, and starting to enjoy it again, and and a good team with a good squad who were pushing to get into the playoffs, to get up to the Premier League.
Yeah. Did you feel like you had to drop down to the Championship to get a club and stuff like that?
No, I wasn't in a rush to move. I've still got another year left.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those things. The team was struggling a bit, and he had set high standards before, and everyone came in for criticism. I was the captain. I came in for criticism as well, and people say, "Oh well," and it's the same old thing. And I've heard ex-pros say it before, because I'm 35 now. Oh, he's getting older.
Yeah.
Or he's dropping off. It's a load of rubbish. If anyone knows me, I'm one of the fittest guys. Whatever club I've been at, I'm one of the fittest guys. I look after myself. People say, "Oh, he's not got pace." That's another thing. People say, "Oh, Christophe's he's not fast." People don't know me. If you ask anyone I've worked under, I'm usually one of the fastest in the team. Yeah. So that's another thing. People watching decide, making judgments on players they don't know. I hear that about loads of players I've played about before. They're saying this and that. You're like, that couldn't be further away from the truth. So it's one of the things. Your age comes into a factor, and people use that as an excuse. It's not an excuse. You can play. It doesn't matter. If you're fit and healthy and you're still looking after yourself, there's no reason why you cannot play for as long as possible, and I think I can go into that category. I've always looked after myself, apart from one serious injury. Yep. I was out for about 3.5 months, and I went back there, and if you ask the manager I worked under, I think I played at a high standard, and I really enjoyed it. And I didn't have to go to Dundee. I had a couple of options, but Dundee, they made it clear they wanted me to go there, and I just wanted to play football, and that was all I wanted to do, and we knew we had a good chance, and I went there, and I proved everyone I could, not just to myself, not that I ever doubted it, but I just know I still could play at a high level, and I'd done that. And be it the Championship or not, you still got to perform. Who's in front of you? There's a lot of good teams in there, difficult games, and good players. And I done it. And that's football. There's as I said, there's many players who've played on to their late 30s, and hopefully, if everything goes well and we get back to playing football, I can do that.
Yeah. That's the last question for me. You brought up your age. 35 now. What is the your future plans? You want to play until you can, but in terms of when you finish football, of course the obvious thing is coaching and stuff. But is there anything else in pipeline for you?
Well, I've started to do a few uni courses with. I was doing a applied football management through the Scottish PFA last year, and it's just finished this year. And I've done my B licence. I'm starting my A licence at the start of January with the Scottish FA. So yeah, I've coached the under 16s, under 14s, and under 16s at Hearts. So yeah, in my back of my mind, I'd love to go into management. How my career's played out in the last maybe 6 months, moving on loan. A part of me wants to play as many games as possible before I retire, and not move into management or coaching as earlier than I really need to. I think come to this break really has, with the lockdown, has kind of really set home how much I miss football. And how much I really want to, before I retire, just play as many. Hopefully, maybe try and win a trophy here or there if we're lucky enough to get wherever I may be at. As I said, I've got another year at Hearts, but I want to play as many games as possible before I hang my boots, because it's such a short career. Well, it is in 20 years, or I don't know how long I've been playing, nearly coming up for 18 years or something, I think. So yeah, I want to. Coaching would be great. Going into management would be better. I think it's something I'd really like to do, and I don't know what pathway I'd like to go into. I think I'd like to learn my trade first and learn how I want to coach and what structure, how I want my team to play, and how my training weeks all set up, and get that, be it in a youth team first and foremost. Not that I wouldn't say going into a first team, I would not ever say no to that, depending on the circumstances.
Of course, yeah.
But also doing the unit courses, the open avenues to director of football roles, all that kind of stuff, and there's a lot of jobs within football or within sport, and as you said prior to the chat, I've been a lot more resourceful in this time off reading books. I think I've nearly finished my fourth book since lockdown. It might not seem a lot, but for people who don't read very often all the time, I'm getting through it quickly, and also doing things with the PFA. They've got a lot of online courses, just simple things like learning how to do Microsoft, how to work Microsoft apps. Something so simple, but because you've been out of school for so long, you're used to Apple Macs. You're used to their kind of systems and stuff like that. And also a wee Spanish course that the PFA Scotland are doing as well, which I'm on my third lesson, but it's nosy. That's definitely more difficult. But I think going forward, if you want to do your pro license, you need to be seen to learn a language and try your best to learn a language. So I've decided to take up Spanish, which I've actually got that half one today for 2 hours. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, as I said, I plan on playing for as long as possible. But management is something that definitely entices me. If I have the opportunity, hopefully be successful at it. I've definitely learned throughout my career, 18 years, there's a lot you learn through football and through managers. I think you learn a lot of things you wouldn't do than you would do in football.
Maybe one day, you could be an Ipswich manager or cross paths with an Ipswich team one day as a manager of another team.
You never know. I think ultimately you want to be a successful manager first and foremost, and one of the biggest stages in football at the moment is England, and I think that's everyone's like being a professional footballer. If you come from the UK, Scotland, you want to play down south, and be it start in Scotland first and go down there, it'd be great. But who knows what the future holds.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like the last Ipswich manager who was successful, of course, was Scottish, was a former player in George Burley. He did really well, so wait and see.
You never know.
Well, Christophe, thank you very much for chatting with me. It's been a pleasure. I don't want to take more of your time up. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And
yeah, no problem. that's fine. I really enjoyed it. Thanks for that, Ross.
Pleasure.
From true crime to football, Brexit to folklore. For more great podcasts from Archon, head to audioboom.com/channel/Archon. Archon, head to audioboom.com/channel